The year is 2019. 20 countries around the world have declared a climate emergency. Studies show that Earth's natural resources are depleting at an alarming rate. Our atmosphere is becoming more and more polluted with greenhouse gases and fossil fuels. Our oceans are losing their coral reefs and becoming filled with plastic. And our forests are being torn apart for the installment of meat farms. Climate change and its effect on the 7.7 billion people that live on our planet has continuously been scientifically proven. Yet political officials refuse to acknowledge the large and ever-growing issue at hand. It is estimated that Earth will be depleted of its natural resources by the year 2050 if action is not taken now. It is up to each and every one of us to do our part to raise awareness and do what we can to decrease our contributions to climate change. I'm sure you've all heard of the 3 R's: recycle, reuse, and reduce. These are simple guidelines governing our contributions to climate change that can be easily implemented into daily life. The first R stands for recycle. Recycling can be done by anyone, anywhere, as most locations offer recycling bins. Properly disposing of plastic, aluminum cans, and other recyclables is a huge step in the right direction towards reducing our contributions to climate change. The next R, reuse, is something that can be practiced by anyone. Simply switching from plastic water bottles to a more sustainable option such as this allows for unlimited refills and eliminates the need for excess use of plastic water bottles and other containers. Purchasing reusable grocery bags is another great example for implementing this small but significant change. Not only are they more durable, but they are a great alternative for plastic bags, which often end up in our oceans and landfills. If you wish to take it a step further, Amazon sells reusable bamboo straws and utensils to replace plastic straws, forks, spoons, and knives. The third R stands for reduce. This is the one that I will be focusing on today. Reducing can be applied to many different aspects of life. This may include cutting back on commutes and instead choosing to carpool or use public transit in order to reduce our carbon footprint, or simply reducing our plastic use and waste. Another big example that is often overlooked that I would like to emphasize with this presentation is reducing meat consumption and food waste. Did you know animal agriculture is responsible for the contribution of 32% of greenhouse gases each year? But in order to fully understand how the production and consumption of red meat contributes to climate change, we must first examine the process of producing meat for human consumption. First, meat farms require ample space and water supply. This ample space is acquired by means of deforestation. This process poses 2 problems. 1, trees are being permanently cut down, which impacts our oxygen supply. 2, deforestation is done with the help of heavy machinery, which typically runs off of fossil fuels. These machines release carbon and other harmful gases into the Earth's atmosphere. In addition to that, these machines remain in use even after the agricultural land has been established because they are necessary for land and animal upkeep. Once a meat farm is up and running, farmers then have to grow grass and other crops for their cows to consume in order to grow large enough for human consumption. On average, it takes 3 pounds of grain to raise 1 pound of meat. This process lacks efficiency and is a waste of time, energy, and resources. Not only is this process inefficient, but it's also one of the largest contributors to greenhouse gas emissions. The reason is due to how a cow's digestive system is set up. Upon consuming the crops necessary for growth, cows actively release methane gases via flatulence and burping. The methane produced by a cow's digestive system accounts for 14.5% of greenhouse gases. These gases are then trapped in the Earth's atmosphere and contribute to the warming of our planet. Once the cows have grown large enough for human consumption, they are slaughtered and prepared for distribution. Preparing for distribution involves packaging, which requires materials such as unsustainable plastics. Once ready to be distributed, vehicles and planes are required for transportation. The average meal travels 1,200 kilometers from farm to plate. All the while, the means of transportation being used are utilizing a lot of energy and are releasing large amounts of carbon into our atmosphere. Whether you are a heavy or an occasional red meat consumer, there are many things you can do to decrease your food-related contributions to climate change. One way of decreasing your negative impact is to simply reduce your red meat intake. If the average American were to cut back on their meat consumption by 1/3, their food-related emissions would drop by 13%. Converting to a vegan or vegetarian lifestyle would further decrease these numbers. Now, I know that making that big of a lifestyle change may not be ideal for most. So fortunately, there are easy food substitutions that can be made to replace red meat while still providing the consumer with adequate protein and nutrition. Substituting red meat with poultry or fish will decrease your impact on climate change because these protein sources are responsible for a much lower greenhouse gas contribution. They are solely responsible for a combined 6.8%, which is significantly smaller than what red meat, such as beef, is responsible for. Other nutritious protein substitutes include plant-based proteins, legumes, beans, lentils, peas, or even tofu. Another simple solution is to buy local. Buying local supports small farmers, guarantees better quality meat because the long freezer time and transport is cut out, which also reduces fossil fuel emissions while decreasing the demand for meat production from big corporate farms. Finally, ensuring that food is not wasted is a great way to lessen our impact on climate change. Nearly half the food that is produced worldwide goes to waste. That means that all the energy and resources that went into producing that food go to waste as well. It is up to each and every one of us to educate ourselves and others on the pressing matters of climate change and its many contributors. With the time for New Year's resolutions and fresh starts upon us, I challenge each of you to be mindful of your consumption habits and take one step towards making one small diet change 1 to 2 days a week in order to reduce our food-related emissions and decrease our impact on climate change. We only have one Earth. The future of our planet is in our hands. Let's create change now and treat our planet right so that we ourselves and our future inhabitants may lead a plentiful and sustainable life.